Hey guys, it's Bruce Tall Guy Miller with Airstream of South Florida here in sunny Fort Myers. And today we're going to do a walkthrough on an Interstate 19, a 2021. Really nice little coach. You're going to love it. We're going to talk about how things work and how you utilize the different features of the coach. So let's get started right away, and we'll start with one of the very first things here, the door. So the doors are power now, which is really nice. If you're parked on a hill, especially trying to slide this closed, that door can be a little heavy. So there's several ways to open this door. I can simply pull this and release, and it will open. And as you see, the step comes out as well. I can also pull it and release, and it will close. Or from inside, there's a button right here on this pillar that I can push and it will open and close. So if I'm inside and it's closed, I push it, it opens. If I'm outside or if I'm inside and it's open, I push it, closes. In here, there's one more button. Right here in the center between the cup holders, you'll see a button. That opens and closes the sliding door. And there's also a button on the key fob, which is very, very handy. So the door is a pretty awesome new feature. And when I close the door, the step automatically goes in, which is a really nice feature. However, if you're staying somewhere for a couple of days or even just overnight, and that step is going in and out, you open this door to come out, you're in a hurry, you may get there before the step does, and that can cause you to take a spill. So there's a button right inside the door here that is called step hold. When I press step hold, the step will now stay out whether the door is open or closed. Now you may think, okay, what if I have step hold on and I'm getting ready to drive away and I forget about it? There's a little alarm up there on the dash that will sound, and you'll know either your step is extended, your awning's not fully retracted, things like that, and that you can check and make sure they're taken care of before you drive away. So really nice feature there. Moving on around here, we've got a 110 outlet right here. This is for when you have the awning open, if you want to put awning lights out, that kind of thing, or something under the awning, and we'll open the awning here in a moment. Down here is your propane tank fill. This is where it's filled. This is an on-off switch for the propane source. That's the bleed-off valve. This is a valve so that you can plug in a low-pressure propane grill, things like that, which is really nice. You don't have to carry extra little propane tanks with you, that kind of thing. Moving on around to the back here, let's talk about these doors. They have a stop right here. Got a little clearance there, okay, we're good. But they will also swing clear around. They'll go around this way. That way, if you want this back open and you've got your power screen here, which we'll put down from inside here in a little bit, goes clear down to the floor. So that way you can have these doors completely open, out of the way, put the screen down, and it's not like you're looking out with blinders on. So you have a nice view, you have some nice cross ventilation. There's a sliding screen door up there by the sliding door. We'll look at that as well. We also will take a look here in a little bit at the power blinds, which come down and block these windows to give you privacy. Under here, they have a lot of storage. Now this is a box with a carpet runner in it that goes with the unit. I'll pull that out for just a moment so you can see what's in here. We also have right here, this is the privacy blinds for the front windshield and side doors. And they're really nice. The side door ones, the ones that go on the doors, are magnetic. So they simply go up around the window frame on the side door. The one for the front, for the windshield, is like a real high-end sun block that you might get for a car or a truck, except that it's much heavier duty. It unrolls, it goes across there, you pull the visors down against it, and you have full blackout for that front area. So when you turn your seats around, they become part of your living area. And since it's full blackout, it also helps keep the heat down. Under here, as you can see, we've got a lot of storage. place for a couple of suitcases, a bag of golf clubs, whatever you might want to put in there. This is a manual battery disconnect switch. This is a manual version. There actually is a switch up front that controls that. But if that were to ever fail, this is the actual manual override. And laying right here in the corner, we have a couple of tools that came with it for, and then there's a ground fault check that comes with it. This is for the outdoor shower. We're going to get to that in a moment, so you'll understand when we're talking about that. Let me put this back in here out of the way, and we'll close this up. Right down below here, we have a hitch. Now, Airstream has done a very, very nice job of concealing this hitch. It actually is rated to tow 5,000 pounds. This little cover comes off. There's a couple of latches here, and the hitch is there, as is the 7-pin connector that you would need for most RVs or trailers that you might tow. Again, you can tow 5,000 pounds. It'll take up to 500 pounds of hitch weight. Looking up overhead, you'll see our rear view camera, our backup camera. We'll look at that inside as well, but that's the camera right there by the third brake light. As we come on around this way, this is your shore power connection. This cord that comes with it is approximately 25 feet. This is a 30 amp one. I'm not going to unplug it because we do have the AC running. But basically this thread's on here to keep it secure, just to keep it from coming out and getting loose. Loosen that, turn it about 1/4 of an inch counterclockwise and pull it out. And when you put it in, you push it in and turn it about a 1/4 inch clockwise to latch it and then thread this on. You'll also see this little LED here that indicates we do have power. This is your city water connection. So you do have a fresh water tank on this unit. So if you're out in the middle of nowhere, just driving down the highway, you do have a source of water. This is for when you're in an RV resort or a campground or somewhere that has full hookups. You can hook up to their water source. Then you're not using the water out of your fresh tank. This bypasses it. You're using pressurized water. So they call it city water. You do not need to use your water pump or anything like that. And we just seal that up by threading these. And notice that spins, so when you're threading a hose on there, you don't have to fight with a hose. You spin this to tighten it on. Down here is the exhaust for the generator. Just to note that that's where it is. The generator is up underneath there. This is the vent for the Truma system. The Truma system is where we get our heat and hot water. We're going to talk about that inside. Now let's take a look at some of the things we've got here on the outside. And you'll have a key on your key ring for these openings. This is the main control area right here. This is where you can control the macerator, the valves, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to go ahead, I'll tell you what, I'm going to open this one below it too so you see what's going on here. Down here is the macerator hose. And it's really neat. It's only about 1.5 inches. Since it actually pumps and since all the waste is pulverized, you don't need that big old 3-inch stinky slinky, so to speak. So I simply pull this out, and it's 15 feet or so. I've got a valve here, and I've got this connector here that goes on, so that when we're hooked to in an RV park, we can screw that in there and make it secure. And then this is on a power reel. So when I want to retract, I just do this. You do need to guide it a little bit, and I actually put it in a little too far, because you need to be able to turn it like that so the door will close. But when you're reeling it in, just kind of go back and forth with the hose so that it doesn't all pile up in one spot on the reel and overload. So that's really nice, because that actually even pumps uphill, which is a really nice feature if you're trying to pump out somewhere and it happens to, as opposed to gravity flow like it would be on a travel trailer, that kind of thing. Now, while we're using that, I pointed out this is the switch that allows you to retract it. These are the electric valves. There's manual valves up underneath if you ever need them. But this opens your black valve for your black tank. This opens your gray valve for your gray tank. Now, you always want to dump your black tank first. That way, that gray valve, that gray tank, which is just soapy water, is rinsing out your hose and everything when you're done. So you simply press the button to open the valve, and then you turn on this waste pump right here. And that's all there is to it. Once you're done with the black tank, you see it's empty, turn the pump off, close the valve, open this one, turn the valve back on, and it'll pump out. Right here we have a little light button, and you're not going to see it in the daylight probably, but there's a little light in there. And when I hit that light button, there's a light in every compartment over here. There's one in this, there's one in this, there's one in this. So if you're out here using this at night, you can see what you're doing. We also have over here a little cable connection. So if the RV park or something in has a cable connection, you can hook up the cable. You pull this over, you can go ahead and close the door, run the cable out, and that way you can have your cable hookup, which is really nice. So I'm going to go ahead and lock this back up. Down here, I mentioned the outdoor shower in the back. You saw the blue coil hose. Has almost like a hose nozzle on the end, but it just fastens on here. It's a quick connect, and we've got hot and cold water. So a lot of folks like to use that, give the dog a bath, or you've been to the beach, rinse your feet off, get the sand off your feet, that kind of thing. Or if you're out in the middle of nowhere and you want to be one with nature, you can just take a shower outdoors. Moving on around, I'm going to pop the hood here real quick, just for a second. By the way, it's running, which is amazing. I mean, these new diesels are just so quiet. Find the latch here, get my finger in the right spot. There we go. You pull this up, you got a little stand here, just pop this out. Right there in that notch, pull it forward. A couple of things I want you to know about this. Always, always, always make sure you unlatch that. Don't forget and pull down. You can actually bend the hood. All the new diesels use diesel exhaust fluid. We'll talk about it. In fact, I'll show you. I'm going to backtrack here in a moment and show you where to put the diesel fuel in. This is where you put the diesel exhaust fluid in. Diesel exhaust fluid is available at almost any auto parts store. You can get it at a lot of truck stops right at a pump. And that's good for 6,000 miles, 5,000 miles, something like that. It'll tell you when you need to fill it up. The other thing I wanted you to know up here is the battery for the coach itself is under the driver's feet for the chassis. So if you ever need to jump, here's the positive post right here. Just push that back so you can put your jumper there. And over here is a post for the negative, right here on the side. Okay, so that's pretty much everything you need to know under there. By the way, service intervals on these have gotten to be really good. Obviously they use synthetic oils, and the service interval on this model year is 20,000 miles. Let's backtrack just a moment so I can show you the fuel fill. I skipped it. It's really neat, and Mercedes gets all the credit for this, the way they've engineered this. It's behind this door, but that door is secure when this door is shut and locked. So all I have to do, pull that open, there's my diesel fuel where I fill up. Okay, moving on around. Of course, we've got the parking sensors front and rear. You can see them in the bumpers here. This, by the way, too, is a step. That is actually a step, so that you can grab the front edge of the hood here, step up there, and reach the windshield to clean it. Okay, let's take a look at the awning here. We'll get this door open again. I love playing with that new door. And before we forget, here's our screen door. Simply slides over and latches. Really nice. So when you've got this door open with that screen, and the back one with the screen, you get a lot of airflow. So wouldn't want to do that here in Florida today. Right now it's about 90 degrees. Within the next hour or so, the heat index is going to be about 108, so you're going to want the doors closed with the AC running. But you know, if you're up around Michigan or somewhere where it's nice and comfortable, or up on top of the mountain in Georgia, you might enjoy just having the doors open with the screens. On the 19, this is actually your potable water fill right here. This is where you fill the fresh water tank. Once in a while I get a phone call, people say, where is it? I can't find it, because typically it's on the outside of a coach. But this one they've tucked away right here behind the screen door, inside the sliding door. So a lot of people don't think to look there. Let's take a look at this awning. Now I've got a control panel by the door here we'll get to in a moment, but I'll go ahead and put the awning out just so you can see. Let's see here. Control, get to that spot. Awning out. And there goes the awning. Well, we got a couple of different lights under there too, and the controls are on here. I'm going to spend some time on this control in a moment. I just turned on patio lights, and they are LED strips right here, and there's one that we're not seeing at the moment because of the door there, and I'm not going to close the door because then I can't get to the panel. Those also have dimmers on them, so that's full bright. I can dim that down, but that's the porch light, and that is, you can see that with the awning closed as well. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that off, and now I'm going to show you the awning light, which is actually out on the edge of the awning there. Now that doesn't look real bright, but at night when you're out looking at the stars, that's pretty bright, and you can actually dim that as well. You can dim it down some. There's off. There we go. So really nice awning. By the way, this has a seismic sensor in it, so that if it's out and it's breezy, now as you can see it's pretty calm here right now, but if it started getting breezy and it got too breezy, the awning will put itself away. One word of caution. I don't want you to rely on that too awful much, because if it's a calm day and all of a sudden there's a gust of wind, that may not have time to react, and the next thing you know, the awning is damaged. Rule of thumb: if the awning is out of sight, if you cannot see it, put it away. Don't ever leave it up at night. If you are going to visit your neighbor on the other site, on the other side of you, and you cannot see your awning, put it away. It's so simple. It's a push of a button, and it can eliminate so much damage if something like that were to happen and you're not where you can deal with it. So don't leave it up at night. Don't leave it up in a heavy rain. Don't leave it up in wind. It could be up in a light, like a misty rain. It's really a sunshade. So don't rely too much on that seismic sensor. Just know that if it's a breezy day and you want to have it out and the breeze is kicking up a little bit, it will put itself away if it just gradually increases. So really nice feature. I think we've covered everything outside, so let's move inside. Okay, here we are inside of the gorgeous 19 Interstate, as in Interstate 19 foot. By the way, just a tiny bit over 19 feet. The beauty of this thing is you can parallel park it downtown, which is awesome. So I did just close the door using this button here, which is really neat. Just push the button and it closed for me. We're going to take a look at a button down here beside the door real quick. I'll back up here and get out of the way. There's one with the red light beside it there on the end of the cabinet, and that is the main disconnect switch for the coach itself. And we're plugged in at the moment, so it's a non-issue. But if you were running battery power, you turn that on, it gives you power to everything in the coach. Now, I'm not talking about the chassis, just the coach. And it's right there by that step hold button we talked about earlier. Also, we're seeing that LCD screen there. We're going to cover that LCD screen in detail here in a moment, but we're not going to do it on that one because that one's handy from outdoors and it's a little tougher to video. So there's a duplicate screen of that in the back here at eye level. We're going to go through that in detail. So looking at the rest of the galley here, here's our sink. Pretty self-explanatory, hot and cold, really nice faucet. Cooktop, propane cooktop, bigger burner, smaller burner. And to light them, you simply turn them to the light position, hold this button in, because that overrides the thermocouple while you hit the igniter, and there you see it lit. Now I need to hold it in for another moment while that thermocouple heats up. Then I can adjust the flame up or down. Another word of caution, Don't ever close this when this is hot or when it's lit. This will shatter into a million pieces. What you're doing here when you're pushing this in, overriding the thermocouple, this is the thermocouple right here, and basically it's a little heat sensor. It's a safety device. So if I don't push that in, this will not light. I can try and try and try. It'll never light because it's not allowing gas. What this does, what its function is if the flame ever goes out, it cuts off the flow of gas so you can't accidentally be gassed. I press it to override it, boom, it lights. Then I have to hold it for just a moment while the thermocouple comes up to temperature so it will stay lit. If you let off too soon, it will go out. And that's all there is to that. So those are not hot, so I can go ahead and close that. Let's talk about the bed for a moment. 3 controls here. The middle one is for the back lounge, and that will lay that back lounge down. By the way, those armrests pull out, they're just sitting there. Now, as you can see, a lot of people choose to use the bed this way. Simply take this off, pull these out of the way, put them somewhere. And a lot of people choose to use this as a twin bed. And the beauty of it is, if you choose to do that, is that when you're laying here and you go to get up, you're not crawling out the end of the bed. You can simply sit up, swing your legs over the side. That being said, this does make a full bed, big bed. So let's show you how that works. I just pulled those cushions out of the way there. This one takes care of this ottoman. So I'm going to push this ottoman out. Normally I'd be standing back there where our cameraman Anthony is, so I wouldn't be in my own way. Then I take this little cushion, it goes right here, shove it down in, it's tight. That way you don't have any cracks you're falling in. Shove this one in here. And then we do the same over here, except over here we only have the one cushion to put down in the back. So I can pull that clear out. Then we have wall-to-wall bed from here all the way back to the big doors, which is really nice. Very easy to make up. And if there's just 2 of you traveling, you may choose to leave this made up a day or 2 at a time if you're parked somewhere, because you can leave it made up. You can have your front chairs turned around, use them as your lounging area, and that way you don't have to build your bed every night. So I'll put this back real quick. I have to pull these out. You jump up there and push that button. That will go back in place. Then I simply put my cushions back where they belong. This one goes under here this way. And this one goes here this way. And I'll set the lounge up. I should have done that before I sat down. There we go. Now I can put my armrest cushion back in place here. On the end of the galley here, and by the way, I missed there's a couple of drawers here we need to point out. Nice drawer here, by the way, a silverware tray. This is a cover for the LCD screen. There's one for each of them. Nice little cabinet down here. Waste can under here. These push in just so they don't stick out in the aisle. Another nice drawer. We have aisle lighting in here. Right down here, we have our power converter. Think of it as your circuit breaker box at home. You've got breakers for 110 and fuses for 12 volt. Now, if one of these fuses blows, there'll be a little red light comes on beside it. So it makes it real easy if you're trying to find a blown fuse. That's real easy. To open and close this, you simply press on the center of the top of the door. It'll pop out, push back in to close it again. That's all there is to that. Right here on the end of the galley, we have a nice little slide out. So you have a little more counter space there if you need it. Moving on around, USB charging station on each side. See, we got nice cup holders there. There's 2 on each side. There's a table mount here. I'm going to show you how that table mount works. The table itself is stored behind the driver's seat. So when we get up there to that, I'll show you how that comes out of the storage and how it works back here. Moving on around, we've got some reading lights here. Just push them to turn them on. You can aim them. Microwave. Ladies, you all know more about that microwave than I ever will. It's a 110 microwave. You do have to be plugged in or have the generator running to use this. Same with the air conditioner. Basically, you can run everything in this coach off the grid with no 110 power, no generator running, except the microwave and the air conditioner. You can run the television with the inverter, things like that. The inverter does not have enough power to power this or the air conditioner though. Okay. We're going to get to these blinds and stuff because those controls are up front. Okay, here we have a lot of nice overhead storage. Here's one of them. Oh, by the way, here's the owner's manuals. A nice big briefcase full of owner's manuals and instructions. That's really nice. They do a great job with that. Push that down. Again, you can push the buttons in. Gives it a nice clean look. For a tall guy like me that keeps those from catching on your shoulder, there's some storage back here. This is not real deep, but nice place to put I don't know, bottles of beverages, things like that. Another storage compartment over here. This has some controls in it. We're going to get to the fun stuff here in a moment. And then we have these lights underneath here that come down to the lounge, and the switch for those is right here. Television is pretty self-explanatory. Here's the remote. It does swing out so that you can view it from an angle, and this is a latch. So simply pull down on that, you can swing it out and move it around. When you're going down the road, you want to push it back in place and latch it. Now it's latched again. I have to pull out on that. If you want to put a Blu-ray player or a Roku or an Apple TV or anything like that in this coach, here's a space to do it. All the connections for it are right down here, including 110. Most of the controls are in this panel. Now if I press these 3 lines up in the top, I get a menu: modes, control, monitoring, climate, generator, alarms, and settings. If I go to modes, I have an away mode, a sleep mode, and an onboard mode. Now we're in away mode right now. No, it says it's inactive. I should read. It's all inactive. So if I were not plugged in, I come in, I hit onboard mode, and that gives power back to things here, turns on some lights and that kind of thing. And to activate a mode, I simply hit it, and then hit that, and now it says active. Inactive changed to active. Hit it again, it goes back to, oh, I gotta go up here, go to away mode. And now away mode, we just shut off all the lights and everything. So I'll turn it, and we're closing the blinds. I'll turn them all back on for Anthony. We'll go back to on board. There goes the lights and the blinds. That's kind of neat. Sleep mode just dims all these panels so they don't keep you awake at night. Go back up here to these 3 buttons, go to control. This is where I can control everything individually. And this is what I was messing with when we were doing the awning outside, the awning lights and things like that. So patio light, undercarriage lights, there's undercarriage lights out there that are really nice, awning in, awning out, all shades down, all shades up. See, it says all shades down is off, and they're actually all up. So if I do that, and then I hit on, now all the shades are going down, and it switched to on. To put them up, switch to shades up and hit on, they're going back up. And when they get back up, all shades down will turn to off. It hasn't yet, but it will. Okay, rear screen. This is the screen at the back window back doors we talked about. On, and you can see it coming down back there. You can get a shot of that. That goes all the way to the floor. Okay, rear screen up, and now it's going back up. And then I've got individual shade controls, so I can put one down and not the rest. I don't have to do all of them at once. Let's just do the door shade. Let's see which roadside shade, rear shade. Let's do the rear shade down. because it is up right now. This is the one for the rear windows. Okay, so it's now going down. There you go. So it'll give you complete privacy. They're blackout blinds. I go rear shade up and hit on, and boom, there it goes up. I can do the same thing with any one of these windows. They're described by roadside shade rear, roadside shade door, that kind of passenger side door, that kind of thing. Roof vent open, roof vent closed. I can adjust the vent speed, all that stuff. Here's my water pump. If I'm not hooked up to city water, I need the water pump on. So now the water pump is on. I want the water pump when it's off, I just hit off, boom, it went off. Tank heaters. That's a neat feature because you can be out in really cold weather in this rig and your tanks will not freeze because you have this tank heater. You turn that tank heater on and it comes on at something like 42 degrees as the temperature is dropping, and it has a thermostat on it, so you don't have to turn it on or off if you're out where the temperature is fluctuating. So when the weather goes below freezing, the tanks won't freeze. It turns itself back off again. Not this physical control here, but the thermostat shuts off the power to the heater at somewhere around 45 degrees. To turn the feature off, it is off now. I don't have it on, so we'll leave it that way. Battery switch. Remember I talked about the mechanical battery switch in the back? This is the electrical control for it. When I hit that button off and hit if I hit off and do on right there for the off control, it will mechanically, physically turn that switch in the back, and then turn it back on. I do the same thing right here. So I've got individual controls for a lot of things there. Here's monitoring. Sorry, I bumped the wrong monitoring. There we go. Showing the start batteries at 1428. Of course, the vehicle's running, so it's going to show with that. House battery is 1317. That's because we're plugged in. It probably would be like 12.7, 12.8. Fresh water is at 90.6 because we tested the system. Waste tank is empty. Gray tank is empty. Propane is filled. And that propane level will vary with temperature. A propane tank will rarely read 100%. They're usually like in the low 90s and high 80s, depending on the temperature, and it will fluctuate. So that's about as full as that's going to get. Of course, they filled it and ran a couple things just to make sure, like I lit the stove and so on, just to make sure everything's working. Below monitoring, we have climate. This is where I can turn the AC on or off. I can change the temperature up or down. Okay. I can change the fan speed. I can set the fan speed to auto, which I just did. And now it's going to start over again on high. Sorry. There we go. There's auto. And I can change mode. If I go from cool, there's fan only. There's cool. So when you do turn it on, you want to make sure that it is on cool, or you might just be blowing air and not cooling it. Vent fan. This is for our vent fan in the roof up there. This will open it. It's opening right now. It's up front. I'll show it to you as we get up there. And here is fan speeds. I can adjust the fan speeds. And this will close it. And when I close it, it will automatically shut off. Okay, it is now closed. Now let's go to generator, start and stop. Since we're plugged in, I'm not going to start it because if you don't want to start the generator when you're plugged in. You can actually blow a fuse that way. You don't want to do that. But simply press and hold this. Now remember the propane switch I talked about outside to turn the propane on. You need that on or the generator will not start, because the generator does run on propane. You got a 60-pound propane tank back there, so it'll run for quite a while. But that's how you start and stop the generator. Alarms, you get an alarm like, it'll show up here, there's none showing now. Like if your propane's getting low, it'll beep at you and show you, hey, my propane's about out. And then here's settings, and shouldn't need to go in here and do much of anything. If you want to get into this, give me a call. So right now, I usually leave mine on control. That way I can control individual things. Now let's look in this cabinet here. A couple more things inside the cabinet that are important. This is our power control center. One thing you need to know is your generator will power the air conditioner, but if I turn on the microwave at the same time, that's going to overload the generator. So momentarily, this power control center will shut the generator down while the microwave is running. So you got the microwave running for 60 seconds or whatever it is, the AC will shut off. When the microwave is done, the AC will cycle and come back on. So it's controlling where the power goes. We're currently set at 30 amp. And you can scroll through this. And by the way, 30 amp is what this unit takes. But you can scroll through this and you can see the water heater is currently powered. The AC compressor is powered. The microwave is powered. In other words, they have power to them. And we're actually drawing 15 amps right now, but we're on a 30 amp service. Okay. Now, I can also change this from 30 amp to 20 to 15. I'm going to put it right back on 30 because the AC is running. And you would do that, for instance, if you were plugged into your garage at home where you have 15 amp service. That changes the way that controls things. Number one, on 15 amps, you will not be able to run the air conditioner, but you'll be able to run most things, and the control center will, again, control things so you don't overload as a rule. Down here, this is our power inverter. Now, the inverter is the opposite of a converter. The converter we talked about earlier that I said was kind of like your breaker box and your fuse box does a couple of things in addition to that. It also steps 110 down to 12 volt when you're plugged in and charges batteries and also powers things in here that are 12 volt. For instance, the lights are 12 volt, the water pump is 12 volt, all those kinds of things. So it also steps things down, 110 down to 12 volt and distributes it. It distributes 110 to anything that requires 110, and it charges your battery. We're talking about the converter. This is the opposite. This is an inverter. When I say it's the opposite, this takes 12 volt and turns it into 110. It only has 1,000 watts capability. That's why you cannot run the air conditioner or the microwave. But you can plug in a computer, you can run the TV, you can run a Blu-ray player, that kind of stuff. And to turn it on, you press this on button, this little green light will come on. Now, I'm not going to turn it on because I have everything running and plugged in. Yeah, let's go ahead, it won't hurt a thing. There we go, and it's telling me battery voltage is on. But don't ever leave this on. Even if you're using it, if you're off the grid and you're not plugged into power and you're using that occasionally, let's say you want to watch the news, you turn it on, you watch the news, when you're done, turn it off. Inverters can be a battery hog, so you don't want to leave it on, and you don't need it on when you're plugged in. You don't need it on when the generator's running. But if you don't have the generator running, you're somewhere where you don't want to make the noise, that kind of thing, and you don't have a place to plug in, that will allow you to power a few things. Plug in a computer, charge a cell phone. Of course, you have charging stations here that are 12 volt as well. So that's what that's all about. Green light on means it's on, this little light here, and when that's not lit, it's off. You want that off as a rule. This is your solar controller. We have solar panels on the roof, 250 watts. And we can scroll through this with this button. Right now it's telling us that the battery percentage remaining is 100% because they're fully charged. We're plugged in. I can scroll down, it tells me the battery voltage is 13.1. I can go on down again, it tells me the current solar charge amps are 0, and that's because it's not charging because it's already fully charged. And the solar amp hours is 435. So that's just kind of that's not the controller itself, it's tucked away, but that allows you to monitor everything about the solar panels and what they're doing. Okay, let's talk about this Truma system here. This is your heat and your hot water. Now, to get to the screen to read what's going on, this is where our controls are. This is flashing. It's a picture of a little motorhome with a thermometer. So if I press that, it tells me it's off. This is where I would set the heat. If I want it 70 degrees in here, I set it to 70 degrees. But I don't need 70 degrees in Florida when the heat index is 108, so I'm going to turn it back off. I'm going to go back a screen. That takes me back a screen. I scroll over here. This is the hot water control. It's hot. And that's where you normally want to leave it. You can also leave it at eco, which is going to give you a little less hot water. And if you're getting ready to take a shower and two of you are taking a shower in a row or something and you want to boost it, you can do this. This will give you a boost for a few minutes, about 10 or 15 minutes. It heats the water a little more quickly, and that's all there is to that. So we go back the screen. I come over here, picture of a propane tank and a lightning bolt. Press the button. We are currently set to run all of this on gas. It'll run on gas or electric or both. So right now it's set to run on propane. I scroll over. Now it's mix 1. That means it's going to run on propane and electric. Mix 2 runs propane and electric, but it uses so there's one lightning bolt, 2 lightning bolts. There's 2 electric heater element kind of things. So mix 2 is using propane and both of those. I come over here, electric with 1 lightning bolt, so that's X amount of watts, and this is double the wattage. It's going to use both elements. So that just is where we select what we want to run the system on. If you're going to be off the grid, you want to run it on gas. And over here, this is going to be off. This is fan speed control. It's radiant heat. But it's not going to do anything because I've got it all shut off. Down here, we can program a timer and settings. This little icon is telling me that we are in fact plugged in. Now, when you're plugged in at an RV resort, it doesn't make any sense to run it on gas because you're already paying for the electric. Why waste the gas? I would switch it over. But that's all there is to that. It's pretty simple and straightforward. Really nice system, extremely quiet, extremely even heat. Just does a real nice job. Now, one thing I need to talk about is this window right behind us over here because I went right past it. The lower portion of this window, I'm going to turn around and sit down here. Lower portion of this window opens, and all you have to do is crank it open. That's all there is to it on both. You got a screen there. So between this and your side door over there with the big sliding screen and your back door here with the big screen, you can get a lot of air moving through this, especially with that fan on the roof. You put that fan on because that's exhaust and it moves almost 1,000 cubic feet of air per minute. You can get a lot of air moving through here, which makes it really, really nice. Okay, we've got a couple speakers back here. We've got speakers up front as well. That's pretty self-explanatory. They're part of the audio system. Okay, let's look at the refrigerator. Well, let's look at this. We have nice little storage here, little pantry. These shelves can be taken out if you prefer or adjusted. If you take these out, there is a clothes hanger rod there, so you can use that for a half closet. Okay, so here we are at our Norcold Fridge. This fridge is awesome. We open it up, we got a nice little freezer here. Got these little things that flip up on the front so that when you got groceries in there, they don't try to slide off the shelf going down the road. A couple of nice little trays. These are adjustable on the side here. The controls are pretty easy on this one. We've got an on-off button, and you have to press it and hold it momentarily because if you happen to bump it, you don't want it to go on or off. So it's off at the moment. Press and hold, and it's on. And this is where you adjust the temperature. The more blue lights on, the colder it's going to get. And that's all there is to it. This is a compressor fridge. It cools down pretty quickly. It basically runs on 12 volts. So while you're driving, it's powered by the alternator. It's powered by the house batteries when you're not, which the solar maintains. Of course, if you're plugged in, your converter, remember, stepping 110 down to 12 volt, which will power it, and so on. So it's very efficient. Does a great job. Keeps things really nice and cold. I'm gonna go ahead and turn that back off. Down here we have a real nice little pantry. So you've got, you can put canned goods, that kind of thing in here. That's pretty nice. That, by the way, pulls pretty hard. You don't want that sliding open going down the road. Down here's our propane leak detector. It's annoying as all get out. If you have a propane leak, that's gonna go off. I'll give you an idea what it sounds like. That's enough. Green light's good. So a couple things can give you a false alarm on that. If you use a lot of hairspray, something like that, air fresheners, the propellant can set it off. Believe it or not, a gassy pet can set it off. So if you have any of those kinds of things you're doing and it goes off, just understand that's what it is. If there's no other explanation, just open some doors and get out of here for a bit and investigate the situation. Make sure there's not actually a propane leak. Moving along here, by the way, over my head, let's talk about what's over my head here briefly. Here's our air conditioner, which we're completely controlling from the panel. But we do have some vents where we can control more air to the front, more air to the back, that kind of thing. This is called a cold air dump. Cold air will come out the bottom. If I do that, it closes it and then it shoots it out the sides. That's pretty much all there is to that. Over our head here, this is the fan that we were talking about that moves almost 1,000 cubic feet of air per minute. Again, that is controlled by the panel over there, but there is also a manual override. So if the motor would ever fail, I can actually close it. Here's our bathroom, which is really nice. We've got, it's a wet shower. So you've got your commode and everything in there. Nice shower curtain right there that comes across clear in front of the door so the door doesn't get wet, that kind of thing. Nice mirror that comes out, has the magnifying on one side and not on the other, regular mirror. We've got soap and conditioner kind of dispenser there. We have a fan in the ceiling there, kind of a vent fan that again is run from the control panel. And we've got a light switch over there, I believe, over the commode that lights this up around here. By the way, there's a manual control on this as well. Push that up, hit the red button, and it's now on. We'll shut that off, pull that back down, turn that light off. That's got a remote sensor on it. That's what that's all about. So that's cool. I'm going to show you the shower head here. We bumped the, had a little water pressure in there. We bumped the nozzle. So this becomes your shower head, which is pretty neat. And we also have a clothesline. This clothesline is back over here. It pulls over here and latches, and you tighten the fitting on the other end so it doesn't sag. And then it's auto retracting when you're not using it. So it goes right back where it belongs. That's pretty much all there is to the bathroom. Nice little towel rack here. So the table stores right here, which is very convenient, out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and take it loose here. There's a knob at the top that I loosen. And I'm going to move the seat forward just to make it easier to get to it. And lean it forward a little bit. There we go. Swing that up. I can get this out of here. And let me go back to the back here and I'll show you how this table works. It's really cool. I'm going to move these pillows. It's called a lagoon table. The first thing I'm going to do is slide this piece off of here. And I'll just lay this aside. This slides right on here. And it's a little tight, so there we go. Tighten that down. Now, if you need to tighten that more, slide out, swivel down, and then pull up again. It's kind of a little ratchet system there. Then I simply take this part and I put it right there. Now, I can have this between both parties here. Get out of my own way. I can have it like this. I can pull it around in front of me individually. I can pull it over here. I can pull it over here. We've got all kinds of options. And I can actually lock it in place too. Going the wrong way because my belly's in the way. Turn that around. And then I can tighten this up just like I mentioned the other one. Keep that where I want it. There you go. And there's another one right under here I can tighten up the same way. And I can adjust the height up and down a little bit too. So if that's too high for you, you can lower a little bit. So you can use it like a little party tray, party table. It's big enough for a couple of plates if you want to dine on it. If you want to dine on it, I would do it, personally, I would do it this way. I would have it like here and here, a couple of plates. But you can use it however you want. And it does store very neatly up there behind the driver's seat too. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back. Just loosen that, pop that off. Tighten that up a little bit. Loosen this, slide this up. I'll slide it on this way so my tightening control doesn't get in the way. There we go. Like that. And I can tighten that up. That one's really loose, so that's going to take me a second. There we go. There it's going. Okay. And we'll take it up there and store it away. And I didn't adjust that over far enough. I need that further that way. There we go. And it sets right in there. Tighten this back up. And it's all good. Now we're ready to talk about the cockpit. Okay, so really comfortable cockpit. I mean, I'm a big guy and I got plenty of room in here. So new for 2020, this is a 2021, but new for 2020, we got the new Mercedes chassis, which gave us a lot of things we didn't have before, like power seats. So my power seat controls are over here, except for two. This is front and back and tilt, up, down, sideways, no, up and down. Here's our recline, forward and back. Okay, and then down on the side of the seat is a button that has, it's a round button with 4 indentations. If I push the front one, it brings my lumbar support out. If I push on the back side, it reduces the lumbar support. The top and bottom one raise and lower the lumbar to the proper position in your back, which is really nice. And then we also have a manual control on these seats. For people like me with longer legs, there's a little lever right here. I can pull this and the front part of the seat scoots out, so I now have more leg support. A lot of people will never use that, but it's a really nice feature. If you got longer legs, it's much appreciated. Over here we've got our window controls. They're pretty self-explanatory. Got our mirror controls, again, pretty self-explanatory, pretty standard. We do have the folding mirror feature, which is really nice. Button right in the middle there. But you know, press the left button and then adjust the left mirror, and so on. Press the right button, adjust the right mirror, and so on. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cup holders for each person up here, which is kind of nuts. We've got 2 up here, we've got 2 here, and we've got 1 here in the door, which is really nice. We've got a lot of extra storage in here. We've got a lot of storage up here, a shelf. And on our controls down here, we've got, of course, we got the automatic transmission 7-speed, but these are the overrides if you want to manually shift, the shift paddles. Over here we have the wipers and the lights, and this is the shift control. We're in park right now. If I want to put it in drive, I simply push it down. If I want to be in reverse, I push it up. To put it in park again, I push inward. Now, this steering wheel is pretty awesome because we have controls all over this steering wheel. I can literally control everything in this cockpit with the exception of the lights, which I've got set on auto anyway, the windows, and the power seat. This control panel here controls everything over here in the middle. I've got the MBUX, the Mercedes-Benz User Experience. We'll show that in a moment. And then I've got all my controls here in the middle, and this one controls that. I've got a little touchpad on each side here, and it's just like a touchpad on a computer. I can use this to scroll through things. And I'm gonna, if you look at the MBUX there, you can see me scrolling through the different options. I can go through settings and all that kind of stuff. I can go back here, let's hit navigation. Then I simply press on it and boom, there's my navigation. If I want to go back one screen, I got a return button right here to the right of it. I go back one screen. If I want to go all the way back to home, I've got a home button. And then here's my phone controls here and my volume controls for the stereo and everything. Over here, I've got the same kind of thing. I can control this digital panel in the middle. I can hit home, and it takes me to the home screen where I can scroll through. I can look at drive assist settings, service settings. There's the nav, radio stuff. I can see some of the things duplicated there. Here's my cruise on and off. This is where I can set the cruise, because this does have adaptive cruise. I can set the distance I want it to follow somebody, and it'll slow down and speed up as necessary, even come to a complete stop. Here's the resume and the cancel, the set, and the plus and the minus, all that for your cruise. those are the kind of functions we're all used to. But it's really nice that I can do that without taking without taking my hand off the wheel. Now I also have a control here, so I can raise and lower the steering wheel, and I can pull it in, push it out. Got that backwards, didn't I? Push in, pull out. Here's my engine start. Key fob just has to be, in my possession. By the way, it comes with 4. Lock, unlock, and here's the sliding door control. No flip out key, not like the old switchblade ones. If this ever fails, if the battery ever dies in this and you cannot get it started, there is a slot right down here underneath the console. I simply push that key fob into the slot and it'll start even if the battery is dead in the key fob. It's right down there. That's all there is to that. As we look here, we've got our travel warning light, and it's flashing because I've got it in gear. I didn't have the emergency brake on, but I've got that step out. Remember, I had that step on step hold? That's why it's flashing at me. So I know, oh, I left something out. I got to go check. I need to turn that step hold button off so that the step will retract. Got a lot of manual controls here. I can do a lot of things here, just like I did over here, but just by reaching over and touching. I've got nav map, I've got telephone, radio, media, volume up and down, home screen return. There's some of the settings. Here's a mute, power on, power off, and this is a forward or back. So got our AC controls. I can open and close them, just rotate them to close them, aim them anywhere you want. I'll take that back to home just because I want to. It's fun to play with this. Let's put it back on nav, that looks cool. We've got another storage compartment overhead over there over the visor. We've got one down below in front of the passenger's knees. We have the one up on top of the dash there as well. And then up here, we've got lights. There's my reading or map light over here. I've got the Mercedes-Benz system that's kind of like OnStar, that kind of stuff. I've got my mirror. Pretty much everything. I actually have some controls up here for AC as well. There's some vents up here and a storage compartment, which, by the way, has 12 volt, has USB-C, and everything up there. So this one actually plugs you into your system. So if you got an iPod or you want to connect your phone and play media off your phone, that kind of stuff, you can do that. These are just charging stations. And this is a charging mat, so you can lay your phone in there and charge it. By the way, stereo does have Bluetooth and all that kind of stuff. It also has a feature kind of like Siri, if you're familiar with it, or Hey Google or Alexa. If I say, hey Mercedes, it's going to ask me what I want. Hey Mercedes, cancel. There we go. So I'll just hit the home button and boom, it's gone. Down here we've got climate controls. Leave it set on auto, AC, all the standard stuff. Windy defog, recirculate so it doesn't pull in outside air. Here's our emergency flashers. Here's temperature up and down. This is fan speeds if I don't have it on auto. There's a memory buttons over here. You've got 1, 2, and 3. Now, set 1 for one driver, 2 for the other, and I always suggest you set 3 for rotating the seats, because to rotate the seats, they need to be forward a little bit and leaned forward so they will actually clear the steering wheel and the wall. So I'm going to see if I can do it with my long legs sitting here. I'm going to go ahead and pull it forward, and I'm going to lean it forward. I do have to have the emergency brake down, and then there's a lever right here, and I can rotate this seat. Now I've got to go a little further forward because I'm hitting the back. There we go, and I can go on around. So this one will go about this far because of the wall. The other one will turn clear around, so you can sit here, and of course now I can lean it back and recline it again and everything once I got it back in there. But I always recommend that you take that third position and put it in the position where it's easy to rotate. That way it's always going to clear when you're ready, and you just rotate it, and when you pull it back around forward, it will latch in place again. So there you have it. That's a quick walkthrough on the 2021 Airstream Interstate 19. It's an awesome vehicle. what a way to travel. All the comforts of home. You got your bathroom, you got a galley, you got a fridge. I mean, what more do you need? And driving this thing down the road is like driving a luxury SUV. It is so comfortable. When I was young, I could drive many, many, many miles, but I don't do that so much anymore. But sitting in a seat like this, I can drive this thing 8, 10, 12 hours if I need to. It is that comfortable. So any questions, give me a call. This is Bruce Tall Guy Miller, Airstream of South Florida here in sunny Fort Myers. You can also reach out to Todd Utzman, Derek Wolf Weekly, Tom Watts, or Tony French. This is Bruce Tall Guy Miller saying, see you on the road.